Inviting me, and thank you everyone for coming. One thing was crossing my mind while I was sitting and listening to these interesting presentations, that basically in the United States, whenever you talk about regional cooperation in Central Asia, you immediately bring Afghanistan on board. When you listen to similar presentations in continental Europe, I deliberately use continental, avoiding Britain, then basically you revolve around Central Asia itself, and then you slowly, try to find common issues between European Union, Central Asia, and things like that. And then when you organize such events in Central Asia, then you talk about mutual differences between countries, not about integration itself, which is quite interesting. The same topic, but different stances. I would like to take a slightly different perspective on Central Asian cooperation and integration, collaboration, whatever word we may use. I would like to talk about issues per se, and then how actually players in Central Asian markets do resolve these issues. Why I'm doing this? My presentation is based on almost 600 interviews throughout the region, and the idea is when you open a typical report of international organization or article, then you basically can see that there are lots of issues for Central Asian countries, and as a panacea might be a regional integration or regional integration organization, which may potentially solve issue for the benefit of all countries. Yes, it's true, but then I was interested how to see it, like what the players actually think, what actors think about this issue. And I went to the field and asking about perception, what actually entrepreneurs and businessmen think about potential integration. Especially I did this in two largest countries, in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, and I was surprised that basically businessmen and entrepreneurs were not that much eager to cooperate with each other. The major issue they highlighted was the issue of lack of information. They said that we have information vacuum, entrepreneurs in Uzbekistan, about market in Kazakhstan or in neighboring Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan. And the least one is actually production cost, which is amazing. So production cost was the minor problem for them, taking into account the entire pyramid of issues. And then you may, for a second, think that this was an issue for maybe this is how they treat the internally oriented, but this is not exactly true, because you talk to entrepreneurs in Central Asia and you may be absolutely surprised and stunned how much they know about manufacturing industry in Russia, for example, about legislation in Russia, and or for example in Turkey or in China, but they know little about each other. And there is a huge information vacuum, and some entrepreneurs did complain about this, saying, we're really interested in going there, but we don't know how. If someone comes and teaches us how, then we can do it. Other people were saying that, the issue is our market is not saturated itself, and then we need more time for ourselves. That's why we are not that much eager to go abroad and then expand our business, which is a legitimate statement. But then, the problems, one of the biggest problems, and we actually already mentioned that, is a customs problem. And if you think for a moment, the average speed of the cargo crossing countries, like starting from Kazakhstan and ending to Turkmenistan, will be 25 kilometers, which is like, if my math is correct, it's like 13, 14 miles. Which is amazing. It moves like a turtle in a way. And the reason for that is not that the lorries or trucks are that bad or the roads are that dreadful. Of course, they are not fantastic, but still. The issue is that customs takes so much time. The bureaucracy and all those issues. And then when we talk about this, and you can find, this is nothing new, you can find this information in many reports and articles. But what is really missing, that how actually to deal with this issue. What reports suggest that we basically have to reform, the government should think about it, or we should help, should bring some foreign help, and then in one moment basically lift or remove those barriers. This is not a successful strategy, taking into account that for the countries, for the governments of those countries, it's quite difficult to reform everything at once. I believe it's much more, it can be much more fruitful if pinpoint some particular customs points, checkpoints, and then go and try to bring this, understand how they work and their problems, and then basically bring it to the government saying, look, we understand that everything cannot be done at the same time, but we believe that this one is an essential checkpoint and it can be done in a better way without like criticizing, because with criticism you should be really careful. So basically we bring in on board these issues and understanding, and then if it's successful, one may use it as a role model for other checkpoints, and then this is the way to go. But reforming, or expecting to be reformed this at once is a bit naive, I would say. And then the problem also about divergent foreign policy priorities, we already talked that Kazakhstan is more eager to cooperate than, for example, Turkmenistan and also Uzbekistan. But this issue also should be taken into account, that the interest of those countries. And when we talk about bottom-up approach, when we talk about entrepreneurs and about expanding businesses, one of the solutions could be that creates some kind of Central Asian Chamber of Commerce. It doesn't exist. So this chamber can go to different countries and basically advertise opportunities. Another thing can be a Central Asian Business TV channel, just to fill this vacuum, just to show what is exactly happening in neighboring markets, about potential opportunities, and then like some businesses can advertise themselves, and this will intensify these links at a much higher level, and it will accelerate the integration itself. Also, it's essential to understand that there is a mismatch between infrastructure. So there is a need for targeted infrastructure. If you look at economic corridors which were built by the Asian Development Bank with the help of the Asian Development Bank, even at the Asian Development Bank, they are now thinking, okay, we did build these economic corridors and these roads, but what else? Does it really benefit people like around these corridors? And now they're thinking of coming up with some new initiative of creating some kind of concept of economic corridors, building infrastructure along these roads. Also, the bureaucracy is a huge issue, and but sometimes in the literature, I think there's a huge focus that this bureaucracy is a deliberate strategy. Well, sometimes yes, but in most cases, I would say it's a human factor sometimes, and then people are just not being trained, people just not the right people on the job, and they just don't know how to deal with these issues. And that's why it's essential to address those issues from the right angle. Also, I was thinking about why not to create some kind of program like Erasmus program in Europe, where students can freely go. Like that's a nice initiative by Nazarbayev University to offer scholarships for Central Asian students. Another one at OSCE Academy. But in general, why not create some kind of linkage between universities where students may study one semester in one Central Asian country, another semester in another Central Asian country, and then basically it will be much easier to integrate and to understand each other. Because those Central Asians who do not travel, they have absolutely, I would say, skewed and distorted picture of what's going on in a neighboring country. So just to give you some excerpts from the interviews, one of the interviewees said, in Kazakhstan, everything is bad in Uzbekistan. You know, economically we are much better, so why we should go and integrate, why we should do something with that. And then I went to Uzbekistan, talked to people there, they said, look at us, we are self-sustainable, look at Kazakhstan, they borrowed so much money. You know, and then they're in trouble, you know, we are basically, look at our debt and look at how we can easily use the production chains within the country without just borrowing from other countries. So this kind of understanding is there in the air, unfortunately. And to combat this, it's essential to tackle it with filling this vacuum and then to bring this on board. Of course, it can be a bit difficult with the case of Turkmenistan, but still, I think it's quite doable. And the last thing which I would like to conclude with is the issue of labor migrants who are traveling to Russia mostly, and no one knows, there is no study about that, what exactly changes in their minds and perceptions when they come back. So do they get some kind of Russian understanding of things, or they come you know, opposing or coming up with their own ideas, and how does it basically influence the integration processes within the region? And just to give you, it's actually really good that like railways and everything are being built, but at the same time, I'm an economist and I cannot live without numbers. And if we look at the numbers, which is quite amazing, it's numbers from 2012, flights from Uzbekistan to Russia, monthly flights, 946 flights to Russia, 84 to Turkey, and then only 27 to all Central Asian countries. You see, that's a striking difference between 946 flights to Russia and 27 to all Central Asian countries. I read today, well, before coming here, that basically Air Astana would like to double flights to Tashkent, but even that, the situation is not adequate to what the region to match the region's potential. And this is the issue, and this is not the issue only with Uzbekistan. You can say that, okay, because there are lots of labor migrants in Uzbekistan, that's why they're traveling to Russia that much, and that's why there is a need for that flights. But if you look at Kazakh numbers, they're striking as well 441 flights to Russia, and they don't export their labor migrants to Russia, and 187 to Turkey, and again 27 to Central Asian countries. So these issues. Of course, I would like to be optimistic as Ms. Sumar, and saying that from the top we can change that, but unfortunately at the moment as it stands there are attempts, but these attempts should be actually in a way encouraged from the basic, from the field, from the grassroots level, and this will help to address another issue of Afghanistan, because when you talk to entrepreneurs in Central Asia, they are not even viewing Afghanistan as a potential market, which is kind of sad. And for Afghans, they're actually eager to work in Central Asia, work with Central Asian countries, to cooperate, to trade with them. But at the same time, they say, look, how we can trade with them if to get the visa to Uzbekistan is much more difficult than to get visa to the United States. So this is a huge issue for Afghans, but like I said, that at the moment, Washington sees this region, Afghanistan included, but once you go to the region, you can see, despite the geographical proximity, Afghanistan is not being part of the region. But to finish in an optimistic note, I would like to say that no matter what barriers exist in Central Asia, Central Asian people remain very entrepreneurial. So whenever some problems occur, they don't say, oh, okay, my business is gonna fall and I'm gonna go and become bankrupt. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look for some loopholes and I'm gonna find my way to survive in this market and to prosper. So this is a good attitude, and I would like to urge you to have this attitude towards everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How do you count these flights? Are they destinations? Because they're weekly flights from one place to another.
This is monthly flights.
Okay,
and
monthly.
Yeah, this is monthly flights, and these to all cities of Russia.
Okay.
Yeah, and to all cities of Turkey and Central Asian countries.
That reminds me of the old saying in the Balkans that the shortest way from one Balkan country to another is to go via Vienna, to Vienna. Well, that changed.
Central Asia is via Istanbul.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That changed.
That's the Turkmen way,
in the Balkans, and I really hope that it's going to change in Central Asia as well. And now we have Gulim